Point of order, the Honourable Chris Hipkins.
Mr Chairman, I just want to remind you, having had my colleague Trevor Mallard interrupted twice now, that the sole judge of relevance in this debate is you as the chairperson. And just because a debate cuts a little bit too close to the bone for a particular member, that doesn't give them the right to interrupt another member to question their relevance.
Well, I thank the Honourable Member for his contribution. Members, of course, are free to raise different issues within the House as they so choose. I call the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr Speaker, let's now just go straight to the facts. Is money to be spent this year by the New Zealand Government on evidence on behalf of the FBI that goes to how much money John Banks took from .com and how much he forgot? Because, Mr Speaker, outside the House, John Banks said he got none, and Kim.com indicated that it was quite a lot. Now, one of them is telling the truth and one of them is a liar. I don't think that Kim.com is a liar, Mr Speaker, and I want to know whether the evidence from the SIS...
Point of the order, the Honourable Member Cam
Mr Speaker, it is not appropriate by innuendo to suggest that a member of this House is a liar. And that's one point. The other point is this is an appropriations debate, and I've heard nothing to suggest that that's what it was. It sounded more like a general debate.
The Honourable Clayton Cosgrove.
2 points, sir. One, I listened very carefully to Mr Mallard. He did not breach standing orders in his use of language on the first issue that the member raised. And the second point was raised with you, I think, by Mr Hipkins, that the constant and deliberate points of order interrupting a member's speech has been ruled on as inappropriate, sir. You are the person who sets the rules. If Mr Mallard had breached, I'm sure, knowing you, sir, and your eye for detail, you would have hauled him in.
Thank you. Can I just advise members, I've had a look at a couple of speakers' rulings here. And under 42(2), it says the word liar is out of order. Many other expressions can be used. And under 42(4), it goes on to say that calling a member a liar is an offence against the dignity of the House and the assumption that its members behave truthfully and honourably. Now, the member has come close. I'm listening very carefully to the debate, and I'm also taking into account the content of what is being said. So I'm just asking the member to be responsible.
Yeah, and I will, Mr Speaker, and as I make the point about the spending of New Zealand taxpayers' funds on the SIS, I make it clear that I have not accused John Banks of lying to this House. I have not. I did not do that, sir, and I won't do that, sir. But, sir, I will not back his comments up, the comments that he made outside the House. I will not make comments on those, but I do say I prefer the version of Mr Kim.com, because I think he has been shown to tell the truth, and I think that the evidence from the SIS that has been collected, those computer records that are going to be in court, I think, in August or February, depending on when the appeals sorted out, will make it absolutely clear who is telling the truth. Well, here we go again.
Point of order, the Honourable John Banks.
Standing orders, Mr Chairman, are very, very clear about members of this Parliament making comments about matters before the courts. Very clear. And the member should give away the shadow boxing and start getting back to the debate. But making comments about matters before the court are not appropriate under standing orders of this Parliament.
Speaking to the point of order.
No, just going to keep on speaking because that's nonsense.
That's absolutely right.
Mr Speaker, order.
Point of order, the Honourable Member Michael Woodhouse.
Mr Speaker, based on your coaching, I'm very careful not to reflect on your management of the committee, but I'm struggling during points of order to hear the points because of the constant interjections. And it's my understanding that points of order should be heard in silence, and I'm having difficulty hearing what the point of order is. So I just wanted to point that out to you.
Speaking to the point of order, the Honourable
Sir, and
Clayton Cosgrove.
I just want to say that no way is this impinge on your judgment, but I just simply reiterate the point I've made, sir. You are the sole judge of what goes or not in this place. I've lost count of the numbers of points of order from that member over there. He tried it on last night as well, sir, to try and break members speaking, and it is not on. And I don't have the Speaker's ruling nor the standing order, forgive me, in front of me, but I'm pretty sure from other learned members that there is a standing order and Speaker's ruling about deliberate attempts to break a member's speech up with spurious points of order. It may be, sir, that certain people should leave this place if they're going to continue to challenge your ruling and continue to try and prevent a member from having a speech which falls inside standing orders and exercising their freedom of speech.
Well, can I thank the honourable members? You know, I have actually pointed out the different speakers' rulings that are here, but the member is correct. I am the sole judge, and the constant interruptions could lead to disorder. So I invite the member to continue his call.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And the point that I want to ask the Minister in the chair is how much is going to be spent, Mr. Chairman?
I call the honourable member Trevor Mallard.
Mr. Chairman, how much is going to be spent on agents' salaries who go to court or who play voice recordings of John Banks talking to .com? Because Mr. .com has said one thing and Mr. Banks has said another. Let's sort out who is telling the truth. How much is going to be spent by the SIS in the current year in establishing the truth in the .com case? Now, Mr. Speaker, I tend to say most of that case, in my opinion, is rubbish. It's been done at the behest of people offshore, but there is an interesting facet in this case because there is a conflict of evidence between Mr. Kim.com and the Honourable John Banks. And I want to know, Mr. Chairman, how much is going to be spent on that matter.
Point of order.
Point of order, the Honourable John Banks.
Okay, Mr. Chairman. I now want you to refer to Standing Orders, page 44, 112. 112. This is a serious matter I raise. Matters. I know Standing Orders. I've been here a long, long time.
Order.
I understand.
Order. When a point of order, remember we said it. When a point of order is on the floor, it's to be heard in silence. And the point of order is to be terse and to the point. Not a debating issue.
Terse and to the point. Standing Order, page 44, 112.1. Matters awaiting or under adjudication in or suppressed by an order of any court may not be referred to in any motion, any debate, any in questions, subject always to the Speaker and to the right of the House to legislate on matters to consider delegated legislation. But matters before the courts should not be debated here, and this matter is before the courts, subject to extradition. And I tell the member for wherever he comes from, Mr. Mallard, that he should not pursue these matters that are subject to a court decision under Standing Order 112.1 on page 44 of Standing Orders.
Speak to the point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Speaking to the point of order,
Mr.
the
Chairman,
Honourable Trevor Mallard.
I am, if that member gives us an assurance that the matter to do with his discussions with .com is currently a matter up for adjudication in the court in New Zealand, I will accept his word and stop referring to it. But I want him to be absolutely specific that that is a matter before the court. If he does that, I will stop referring to it.
Well, I can only look at 112.1, and where it states that matters awaiting or under adjudication in or suppressed by an order of any New Zealand court may not be referred to in any motion, debate or question, including a supplementary question, subject always to the discretion of the Speaker and to the right of the House to legislate on any matter or to consider delegated legislation. I am mindful, of course, also about a number of Speaker's rulings that relate to issues that can actually lead to disorder, in particular referring to people as not telling or saying things in the way in which they should do. But I want to take the member's word that that is subject of a court order, then I ask the member to return to debate. But I have to take the member's word that it is subject to a court order, and if that in fact is the case, then I ask the member to return to the debate.
Speaking to what precisely? Which member are you referring to?
Point of order.
Point of order. Mr. Speaker, the matter I'm referring to is the matter that the member has continually referred to, a man called .com. Nothing to do with me whatsoever. The matter is in relation to .com's extradition. .com's extradition to the States, which is a matter before the courts, and the member for Hutt South can't raise it in this House under Standing Orders 112. Nothing to do with me whatsoever, but to do with Standing Orders 112, Section 1, .com's extradition, subject to court proceedings, can't be raised in this House, and you should tell the member for Hutt South to desist.
Well, all I can say to the member is that if it is before the courts, then it can't be debated. I call the point of order the Honourable Clayton Cosgrove.
That is the germane point, sir, in the standing order that the member quoted. Matters are waiting or under adjudication. Now, as I'm aware, and the only person, sir, that can, and I don't, you indicated that he had confirmed that the matters were under adjudication.
I understand that that's what the member has said to the House.
I don't know if that is the case. You may want to seek some clarity on that, sir, because I don't know if he did say that. The question is if those matters referred to by Mr Mallard, which, as I understand it, do not form part of any extradition proceeding or court matter, they are separate pertaining to the member in question, then they, as far as I understand, are in no way related to a court case, unless that member can confirm that they are. And I'd invite you to check that with him, because I don't think he did, sir.
That's right.
I'm advised that anything pertaining to his extradition, all right, cannot be debated here, because that is subject to a court order. So that's where we are. Anything to do with the extradition of Kim.com. That cannot be debated.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And I want to go right back to the core here, and that is the spending of SIS funds. I want an assurance from the Minister that not 1 cent of SIS funds is going to be spent in the current year in any court case whatsoever dealing with banks and .com. I want to know that the voice tapes that the SIS have of banks and .com are not going to be used in an extradition case. I want an assurance. I want an assurance that not a cent.
Get him on a short chain. Understanding orders.
Member will be seated. What I was signifying to the member is that he has to use a member's full name or his title. That's what I say. I call the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr Speaker, we know the habit of this government of spending an enormous amount of taxpayers' funds. The amount that the Prime Minister wasted on the teapot tapes, all that police time. I want to know that the Prime Minister is not wasting SIS funds covering up John Banks's relationship with Kim.com. We know that the SIS is holding the tapes of the conversation that Banks had with .com. Banks said one thing, .com said something else. I prefer the .com version of what occurred. But I want to know that not 1 cent further of taxpayers' funds is going to be spent in protecting John Banks the way it was with police funds right through the teapot saga. Because New Zealanders are sick of the apparatus of the state being used to protect the ACT Party and those people who are not prepared to be full and frank with the truth, and not prepared to be full and frank with the people of New Zealand, and to always tell the truth and to always make proper declarations. The SIS should not be used to protect those people. They should be allowed to stand or fall on their own word, rather than a cover-up occurring where .com's tapes which show what Banks said have been stolen and sent to the States. Stolen and sent to the States, Mr. Speaker. That is an extreme way of protecting a minister. It is an extreme way of protecting John Banks, Mr. Speaker, to have the apparatus of the New Zealand court system, the police and the SIS used to take the evidence right out of the computers of Kim.com and to send it offshore, Mr. Speaker. And that is a waste of New Zealand taxpayers' funds. It is a waste of the SIS. And, Mr. Speaker, we want an assurance from the Minister and the Chair, and frankly I'm very surprised that we have such a junior Minister and the Chair representing the SIS. I'm surprised the SIS, who would normally be present during the estimates, clearly, well, no, not normally in raincoats, so normally you leave them outside, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the SIS, who would normally be present for this debate, have chosen not to come and back up John Banks. They are embarrassed by John Banks, Mr. Speaker, as most New Zealanders are embarrassed by John Banks. Because, Mr. Speaker, he is...
Very good. What a silly, silly man.
The question is that vote security intelligence be agreed to. Those of that opinion will please say aye.
Aye.
To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that vote tourism stand part of the schedules.
Chair.
I call the honourable member Reno Terakatan. Tēnā koe.
Tēnā koe, Mr. Chair. I'm pleased to make a contribution in this appropriations debate. Mr. Chair, can I draw the House's attention to the low-budget movie set known as the Tourism Portfolio? It's a Best Supporting Actress in the John Key Show. Now, Mr. Speaker, the tourism industry deserves much, much more. The Prime Minister